Hello, dear students. Welcome to the history session. Today I am going to teach you lesson number 10 on page number 44. Lesson number 10, the expansion of the Maratha power. So let us see that how our Marathas tried to expand their power. Okay, because before this we have seen the war of independence. Yes, Marathas had the war of independence with Aurangzeb, and in that we saw that Aurangzeb, after the death of Aurangzeb, Marathas succeeded in getting the independence, right? So after getting the independence, now though we had got the independence, but still the rule was of the Mughal empire, yes or no? So in place of that, we wanted to establish, or we wanted to expand our Maratha power. So let us see in this lesson. At the beginning of the Maratha War of Independence, the Mughals were on the offensive, whereas the Marathas were on the defensive. So, if we consider the time period, that the initial beginning of the War of Independence, at that time, Mughals were on the offensive, and they were, uh, they were capturing our territories, they were defeating us. So they were on the offensive side and we were on the defensive side. We were just trying to defend ourselves from the Mughals. But this situation, however, was reversed at the end of the War of Independence. So then the Mughals were thrown on the defensive against the Marathas. In the latter half of the 18th century, the Marathas subdued the Mughals and extended the Maratha power to cover practically the whole of India. So after that, the situation changed. Okay, first, if we see in the beginning of the War of Independence period, the Mughals were offensive and the Marathas were on the defensive. But after as we were going on to the latter half of the 18th century, the Mughals were thrown on the defensive against the Marathas, and thus we extended our power, and Marathas started subduing the Mughals, and we started extending our power so that we can cover our, or we can expand our Maratha power practically to the whole part of India. So we shall study this in the present chapter. Let us see how we were expanding our Maratha power and in which areas. Release of Sahu Maharaj. After the death of Emperor Aurangzeb, there ensued a struggle among his sons for the throne of Delhi. Prince Azam Shah was in the south. At once he marched towards Delhi to seize the imperial throne. Prince Sahu was in his captivity. So soon after the death of Aurangzeb, his sons, okay, there were his successors or his sons, they carried on the struggle against the Marathas, okay, and their struggle was mainly for to achieve the throne of Delhi. So they were struggling so that they can achieve the throne of Delhi. Among his son, the son name was Prince Azam Shah. He was in the south and he marched towards the Delhi to seize the imperial throne. So as this Prince Azam Shah, the son of Aurangzeb, he was in south. He started marching towards Delhi so that he can lay a siege around the imperial throne of Delhi. Then Prince Sahu also was in his captivity, in the captivity of Azam Shah. Okay, so Sahu Maharaj was also in his captivity. Then Azam Shah believed that if Sahu Maharaj was released, there would arise a conflict between him and Maharani Tarabai for the gaddi of the Maratha Chhatrapati. Azam Shah felt that this would sap the Maratha strength and therefore release Sahu Maharaj. Now, what happened? As I told you, Sahu Maharaj was very small when his father died, yes, and even his uncle died. So after the Rajaram also died and his father also died, that time Maharani Tarabai took up the charge. We have studied this in the previous lesson, if you remember. Yes or no? Yes, Rajaram Maharaj's wife, Maharani Tarabai, she had taken up the charge, and she was looking after the administration of the Swaraj and looking after the movements of the kingdom. So very nicely Maharani Tarabai had handled the situation that time, and she had given a very tough fight to the Aurangzeb. Then after that, what happened? Then after that, Maharani Tarabai, she thought that her son should become the emperor of the throne. So that's why she was against Sahu Maharaj. Even Sahu Maharaj believed that he should become the emperor. So there was a fight or conflict, or there was an enmity created within the members of the family, that is Sahu Maharaj and his aunt Maharani Tarabai. Both were fighting for the gaddi of the Maratha Chhatrapati. Okay, so then Prince Azam Shah thought that if he, as Sahu Maharaj was in his captivity, if he released Sahu Maharaj, then automatically after the release of Sahu Maharaj, the fights or the conflicts between Sahu Maharaj and his aunt Maharani Tarabai for the gaddi of the Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj, okay, not Shivaji, sorry, for the gaddi of the Chhatrapati will start, and thus it will weaken the power of the Marathas. Okay, the strength of the unity of the Marathas will lessen, will become weak, and that is what Azam Shah wanted. Okay, so that the strength of the Maratha will become less if there will be conflicts between whom? Sahu Maharaj and Maharani Tarabai. So he thought of releasing Sahu Maharaj. So hope you have understood that for the purpose of weakening the unity of the Marathas or the strength of the Marathas, Sahu Maharaj was released by whom? By Prince Azam Shah. Then coronation of Sahu Maharaj. Immediately after his release, Sahu Maharaj marched towards Maharashtra. He was joined by some Maratha Sardars, but Maharani Tarabai did not accept his claim to the throne. The armies of Sahu Maharaj and Maharani Tarabai fought a battle at Khed on the bank of the Bhima. So then what happened now? After the release, Sahu Maharaj was released by Azam Shah. He went towards his place Maharashtra, right? After the release, this Sahu Maharaj he marched towards Maharashtra, and he was also joined by some of his Maratha Sardars while moving to Maharashtra. But Maharani Tarabai did not accept Sahu Maharaj's claim of becoming emperor of the throne. As before you want to become you have to give the nomination, you have to give the names for the people who are interested for having to become the Chhatrapati, have to claim that by giving their names, they have to claim for the throne. So this way Sahu Maharaj has given his name for the throne, but that claim was not acceptable to Maharani Tarabai, okay, because she wished her son should become the emperor of the throne. That's why they both were having conflicts between them, and thus the armies of Sahu Maharaj and Maharani Tarabai, they started fighting, and they had a battle where at Khed on the banks of river Bhima. Okay, so this way the battle started between the armies of Sahu Maharaj and the armies of Maharani Tarabai. Then who won the battle? Sahu Maharaj won the battle. He captured Satara, he got himself crowned, and Satara became the capital of the Maratha kingdom. So after the winning the battle, he captured Satara, Sahu Maharaj. Okay, Sahu Maharaj captured Satara, and thus through coronation ceremony he got himself crowned, and thus Satara became the capital of his Maratha kingdom. So that is why it is called the coronation of Sahu Maharaj. For a while, the mutual opposition between Maharani Tarabai and Sahu Maharaj continued. Maharani Tarabai proclaimed her minor son Shivaji II as the Chhatrapati at Panhala in 1710 CE. This gave rise to an independent Maratha kingdom at Kolhapur besides the one at Satara. So then what happened, as our Sahu Maharaj, he got himself crowned after he captured Satara, then Satara became the capital of his kingdom, right? So then Maharani Tarabai, she could not tolerate all this. Okay, she started feeling that even her son should get an independent kingdom. Okay, and that's why she also claimed for her minor son Shivaji II the place at Kolhapur, and she made this claim where at Panala in the year 1710 CE, and that's why this gave rise to an independent kingdom at Kolhapur besides the one at Satara. As Maharani Tarabai, she was in mutual opposition with Sahu Maharaj, and that's why she proclaimed for her son Shivaji to an independent Maratha kingdom, and that was at Kolhapur besides the one at Satara. The early part of Sahu Maharaj's life was spent in Mughal camps. So he had seen Mughal politics from close quarters. He knew the finer points of Mughal and especially North Indian politics. Now, what happened when Sahu Maharaj was small in his childhood? He has stayed, he has spent his maximum life in Mughal camps. Okay, so he was staying there in the Mughal camps with the Mughal peoples. So, very nearly or very closely, he had seen all the Mughal politics. Okay, from all the close quarters, he had seen that what are the actually plans made by the Mughals, what type of politics they are playing. He had seen all these things in his childhood as he had spent his life in the Mughal camps. He was also aware of the finer points, means smallest points of Mughal and especially North Indian politics. I told you there was a struggle among the Marathas and the Aurangzeb's successors or the Mughals for which place? For the Delhi, okay, for the northern province, that is Delhi. So that's why this Sahu Maharaj was very much well aware of the finer points of the Mughals, and also they were aware of the politics going on in the North Indian place. I will continue in the next video.